Tuesday, May 7th. Call to order, roll call. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Identify possible conflicts of interest. Seeing none, move on to item D, public comment period, correspondence. At this time, I will recognize those members of the public who have indicated a desire to address the council. Upon recognition of me, persons may address the council, first stating their name and address. The council may act on emergency matters introduced by members of the public. Ken Bargander.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Ken Bargander. I'm a member of the City of Marshfield Historic Commission. And
address, please state your address.
Oh, my address? Okay. 206 Hawthorne Avenue, Marshfield, Wisconsin. I'm here tonight talk about these historic district signs. Okay. You see them around town. Our commission members, I'm one of the volunteers. We take these signs and we put them in all the historic districts here around during History Month. And they're up, they're just temporary signs. They stay up just through the month of May, maybe up till Dairy Fest, because we get a lot of visitors from out of town that, you know, we want to show off our historic assets here in the city of Marshfield. Okay. So last Friday, Chris Coleman, myself, and her husband, we put out a number of these signs in historic districts. And we put some on Central Avenue, because Central Avenue is a historic district also, okay? And we talked about this at the last meeting, our last historic meeting with Steve, and Kaylee has been on board with this for a number of years. So Friday, we placed the signs on Central Avenue on the ground level planters, where they're already planting flowers, decorative, for downtown. And so Monday morning, I get notified by Bob Larson, our city ordinance officer, that we are breaking a city ordinance about public right-of-way. And he ordered us to take the signs off of Central Avenue. So I replied, and today in the rain, I pulled down the 6 signs, okay? So the problem I guess I got here is that what harm are they, okay? We're promoting our historic downtown. I think it could have been handled a heck of a lot better, okay? I mean, if we talk about signs in the public right-of-way, all summer long, throughout the city, there's garage sale signs and event signs on terraces throughout the city. Are we gonna get the same type of enforcement from Bob Larson during that, on those signs? I doubt it, because you know what will happen? You get a lot of flack. The city, you guys get tons of calls. So that's not gonna happen. So dealt with Bob for many years, okay, when I was on the city council. And his responsibility is also with blighted properties, junk cars, junk vehicles, I said junk vehicles already, but garbage in the yards and stuff. So back in 2020, when I was a 4th District Alderperson, along with Tom Butke, Alderperson, we made a list of all those properties, okay? And we met with the interim chief of police and Mr. Larson, or Officer Larson, I should call him. And what we received was a lot of pushback from him. He says, people are really difficult to deal with. He says, they don't come to the door. He said, you know, it's just hard to do, he says. So, you know, he didn't do anything. I mean, or very little, because one of the properties I revisited today, it's in the alleyway in the 200 block of North Peach, behind the house of 208 and 210. There is a junk van sitting in the right-of-way in the alley that we reported in 2020. Now the van is sunk into the ground. There's no plates on it, and the backyard is full of old junk stuff, furniture, appliances, and who knows what. I have photos of all this stuff. Next door to him at 208, another junk car, not quite as much junk in the yard, but plenty of it. So why isn't anything getting done? I don't know, but something needs to get done. Just recently in the news, out on Heritage Drive, there was a fire. That was a place very similar to that, where some of the garbage, there must have been a grass fire or whatever, caught a bunch of garbage. And I saw burning tires in the photo. I mean, this is unacceptable in our town. We don't need this sort of thing, but we need enforcement. We need to get tough. And I don't know, if Bob Larson can't do the job, we really need to find someone who can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. Any other citizens' comments? Any other citizens' comments? A third time out. No more citizens' comments. We'll go on to item E. First reading of ordinance number 1511, amending section 19.63 of the Marshfield Municipal Code, required improvements, presented by Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the current subdivision ordinance, which is Chapter 19 of the Marshfield Municipal Code, does require that developers be the ones to install infrastructure, all the improvements, sewer, water, street, stormwater, those kind of things at their expense. They are recovered in some cases, or for any cost not recovered through special assessment. The issue at hand here is we sometimes have, especially now with mixed-use TIF districts being allowed by the state of Wisconsin, as they have been for a while, we have situations where we can fund some of those improvements through other means and recoup through other means. And with development agreements that we enter into, we can recoup through connection fees or through minimum assessed value that remind us that we're going to be able to get the tax value out of it over the life of the TIF district. Currently, that is not allowed per se. And our hope is that we can get that changed to make it possible to recoup our expenses of those improvements that we would put in through means of our own, as the ones that I just described. So staff, this went to public hearing before the Plan Commission last night. We did have Mr. Wagner to speak. The commission had a brief conversation before recommending approval of ordinance 1511. And because of what we're going through right now with the current developer on a project in TIF District 13, we're looking for you, if you're willing to do so, to waive the second reading and approve this relatively simple ordinance. It would make possible to allow these costs to be recouped through tax increment financing through development agreements, as opposed to being required in every case to be paid for by developers.
We have a motion on the floor. Motion by Alderman O'Reilly, second by Alderman Stauber. Any other discussion?
Can I just clarify? We'd actually be looking for a motion to suspend the rules of the second reading.
Right.
So we would be looking for a motion to suspend rules and vote tonight. So I don't know if that's Mr. O'Reilly's motion.
Yeah, I vote or, excuse me, make a motion to suspend rules and approve the ordinance.
And Alderman Stauber, you're
Yes.
here to second. Any other discussion? Alderman Stauber?
I would like to say, we're always learning, and I do appreciate the position that Alderman Reigel has taken in the past regarding waiving this kind of action for citizens' comments, and only in the event of an emergency. And I guess it depends upon how you define emergency, but I do want to recognize him for holding the line and typically not, waiving first reading.
Alderman Reigel?
Mr. Stauber, maybe to it, I was just about to say pretty much what you just said. And without trying to dive into too many details here, would it be fair for me to, if I were to say that this item cannot wait till next week, Tuesday, would that be a fair statement to say, Mr. Barg?
It would be with respect to this development. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't take this in the context of what we're doing here, which is allowing the opportunity for the financing of those improvements to be different than just purely developer paid directly. So, I mean, it's a significant event, but it does tie to the other items that we have on the agenda tonight, and there's a time-sensitive nature to them. I guess in our view at staff level, we're kind of picturing this as, this doesn't require us to do anything different. It just makes possible the opportunity in the right cases to do something different.
Right, no, my concern is not the content, but the form of suspending the rules. And as Mr. Stauber pointed out in the past, I voted against it. Mainly because in many cases, we could have waited that week. But if we're in a position where we can't wait a week, then I'll consider changing my vote on that. But absent that, I'll probably hold the line and voting no on it. But if there is urgency there, I'll take your word for it and go with it.
It is time sensitive.
Thank you.
It ties to the other items on the list for tonight, which include a deadline on accepting a bid for a project and those kind of things. So in this case, I totally respect what you're saying, and I agree with you. In this case, it is time sensitive.
Alderman O'Reilly?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Alderman Reigel that typically it wouldn't be a good thing. There is urgency. And I'll just remind everyone that this does not open the door for the city to do anything. It still requires approval by the council for any actions in the future on this. So it's not just an open door for a policy to be established. It still requires approval. So I'm definitely in support of it.
Any other comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Reigel?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Item F, first reading of ordinance number 1512, amending section 13-96 of the Marshfield Municipal Code, special assessments, presented by Tom Turchi, Director of Public Works.
Mayor, we didn't actually vote on the ordinance. We just voted to suspend the rules to be allowed to vote on the ordinance.
Okay,
Right.
so now, well, we have a motion by Alderman Tompkins and a second by Alderman Varsho, and you are okay with this? I apologize. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Reigel?
Aye.
That motion also passes. Thank you, and thank you, Jess. Item F, once again, first reading of ordinance number 1512, amending section 13.96 of the Marshfield Municipal Code, special assessments, presented by Tom Turchi, Director of Public Works.
This again follows in the same route that Steve Barr just told you about with helping with developers agreements. One of the things that he maybe failed to mention is that this also involves letting us borrow money at a lesser rate, which saves us 2 to 3% in interest. So there is some benefit to the city of passing these. And again, like you said, these are only required, or you still have to make a decision on these through the developers agreement. It's just giving us another tool and helping the city save money in the long run. So in this instance, what we're looking is changing the special assessment ordinance and adding a paragraph that basically states that special assessments may be waived in the discretion of the Common Council through the approval of a developer's agreement that contains a provision for the waiver of special assessments for improvements contemplated as a part of a project which is subject of the development agreement. So basically, I'd recommend approval or waiving the 2 weeks and then recommending approval of ordinance 1512.
Do you have a motion to waive? Motion by Alderman Varsho, second by Alderman Tompkins. Any other discussion? Please vote to waive the second reading.
Mr. Reigel?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we need a motion to accept and adopt the ordinance number 1512. Motion by Alderman Spiro, second by Alderman Tompkins. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote to adopt the ordinance number 1512.
Mr. Reigel?
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you, both of them. Item G, request to award bid for the construction of infrastructure for Green Acres Estates, first edition to Haas Sons Incorporated in the amount of $2,695,662.62, subject to the approval of a development agreement and a budget resolution to authorize the necessary borrowing, presented by Tom Turchi, Director of Public Works.
All right, I wrote this memo on a weekend and I noticed that I did a number change on it. The actual low bid was by Haas Sons for $2,659,662.62. We had 4 bids on this project, and I also listed the types of additional costs that would be associated with this development. Therefore, I would recommend approval of the award of contract 2024 02 for Green Acres Estates First Edition to Haas Sons of Thorpe, Wisconsin, in the amount of $2,659,662.62 and authorize the execution of a contract pending the following elements are finalized. And that includes the developers agreement, which we'll talk about later tonight, the budget resolution, and the purchase of property. And we're proposing that if everything works well, we'll be awarding this by this Friday.
We have a motion by Alderman Giles, second by Alderman Fire. Any discussion? Alderman O'Reilly.
Thank you. I guess I would just like to make sure that dollar amount is clarified in the,
Correct.
Yes, thank
in the
you.
motion.
We will make sure it's clarified in the budget resolution as well, if you would adopt that later.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Reigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Item H, request to authorize request for proposals, RFP for construction inspection services for Green Acre Estates, First Edition, presented by Tom Turchi, Director of Public Works.
All right, as we explained last night with the Board of Public Works, we are short-staffed in the engineering department by one civil engineer. What we are looking at is that we would hire a consultant to assist with the inspection for services for the infrastructure required for the development of Green Acres. So what we're asking for with this is to approve the request for proposals of construction inspection services for Green Acres Estates, First Edition, and authorize staff to start soliciting proposals. These proposals will then be brought back to the Board of Public Works and ultimately the Common Council for final approval. We anticipate that certain pieces will be inspected by the water utility, water main and such, and staking will be done by a different contractor. So I'm requesting approval for the RFP submittal.
We have a motion by Alderman Spiro, second by Alderman Stauber. Alderman O'Reilly.
Yeah, I just have a question, Tom, on funding for this. Is that figured into the project itself, or is this going to be funded through the open positions? Do you have any clarification on that?
Yes, I do. So because this is part of the TIF construction, it would be actually funded through the TIF itself. So
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Reigel?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
thank you.
Item I, adjourn to closed session under Wisconsin Statutes Chapter 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Development agreement for residential project in TIF District Number 13. We have a motion by Alderman Tompkins, second by Alderman O'Reilly. Please vote to go to closed session.
Mr. Reigel?
Aye.
We're in closed session. Thank you. Tom, is Tom still there?
Is Tom or David still back there?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I ask action. And then do I do this too?
Don't do that. Yeah. Discuss in closed session. That would be move approval. Subject to staff.
Natasha, did you notice how everyone's blood sugar dropped when the treats came out?
And also subject to approval of the resolution. I'll jump in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kidding. There we go.
I don't want.
Do you have any actual supper over there? I'm sorry.
Baked potato. Doesn't make.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. Do I make note of that?
You don't need to make note. You're that.
Okay.
We need to make note. I don't.
Okay. Okay.
We're just waiting for Tom to make sure that he's ready because I haven't heard the wall bang.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Action on items discussed in closed session if appropriate. We have a motion by Alderman Giles, and your motion is?
I will make a motion to accept the development agreement subject to the smaller future possible amendments.
Second by Alderman Fire. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Can I jump in? Can I suggest that it also be subject to approval of the budget resolution that follows? Because if we didn't have the funding mechanism to do our part, that would be not a good place to be.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, once again, please vote.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. And
On the budget resolution.
yes, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
No, the budget resolution.
Okay. Request to approve budget resolution number 07-2024, increasing 2024 adopted budget for 438 fund TID number 13 mixed use TID as follows. Engineering department, contractual services increased by $3,899,340.18. Financial department fiscal agent charges account increased by $130,000. Proceeds of long-term debt account increased by not more than $4,300,000, presented by Jennifer Solinsky, Finance Director.
Okay, so as you have heard earlier, we have had a little bit of variance in prices and they're less. So what I would ask for in this budget resolution is these amounts not to exceed the amounts that Lois read off for you. And then also the ability to kind of move those around between accounts. Right now, everything's kind of landing in what we expect to cost, pay for borrowing the money and then constructing the project, knowing that in full well we'll have other accounts that could involve internal staff time, motor pool, et cetera. So just once you approve those dollar amounts, we have the ability to kind of shuffle where the budget actually lands as we get into the actual work of the project. But we would not expect any more money than what is stated in the resolution.
So we have a recommended to approve budget resolution number 07-2024, subject to approval of development agreement following closed session. And we have a motion by Alderman Tompkins, second by Alderman Giles. Alderman O'Reilly.
Thank you. Could you please clarify motor pool?
Oh, I'm sorry. So anytime we do internal work, we charge ourselves through the motor pool. So it could be staff time. It could be, if we have to drive a truck out there to do inspection, we're going to pay that to ourselves in the motor pool account. So sorry, I'm using common language. Sorry about that.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, who would like to adjourn the meeting? Motion by Alderman O'Reilly, second by Alderman Tompkins. Please vote to adjourn.
Mr. Reigel?
All right.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.